No self-respect. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the truth. And then we wonder why we may not be commanding the respect that we want from other people. You train people how to treat you. What are your behaviors and your commitment to yourself saying about who you actually are? All right. For those of you who have significant others, and you maybe you feel like there's a lack of respect in certain areas and not taking you serious in certain areas, it's because you ain't taking you serious. Right? And that's a fact. So you gotta stop negotiating with yourself. That is the key to unlocking the code of the millionaire mind. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Financial Freedom Fastlane. And as always, the quicker you get to your dream life, the longer you get to live it. And I'm your host, George Achimpong. So, I always like to invite you guys into like the real, right? The journey where I'm actually at. So right now, it's a Friday night. I had a really, really good week. It's my first week. I feel like I've been able to kind of get back into the groove of things since my incident that happened overseas in Colombia. And I'm also not traveling. Because believe it or not, when I got back from Colombia, that was like a Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And that following Friday, I was back on the road again, which is crazy. So this week I'm home, next week I'm home. So I feel like I'm getting in the groove and kind of getting my routine back. Because right now I'm also really locked in on some nutrition and health goals, right? So I really want to take my health and wellness to a new level. Always want to challenge myself. I challenged myself really hard in 2020. The pandemic got, I would say, probably close to the best shape of my life. You know what I'm saying? Definitely my adult post-college life for sure. And then, you kind of fizzle out a little bit, kind of maintain, and then maintaining turns into falling off a little bit. And so now I'm back in that mode. And I do feel like I have the ability to kind of turn the switch, on and off. And I feel like a lot of that's rooted in mindset, right? And one thing that's really going to help you get to your goals, whether it's financial, health, wellness, whatever, is unlocking the code of the millionaire mind. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the episode. So for example, it's a Friday night. Most people will be out, having a little drinky drink. This is actually sparkling water and a lime to make it spicy. I really dialed in my nutrition because at the end of the day, nutrition is probably 70% of it. And that means, going through on the weekend, right? And not just kind of falling off just because it's the weekend. So I want to talk to you guys, not about fitness, but the principles are transferable of just how you can really level up your mindset, things that have been helpful for me. I have probably 20 of these, but on today's episode, we're gonna talk about like 5 or 6. Number one, in order to have what most people don't, you have to be willing to do what most people won't. Like if somebody, like another way to put it is like if you're hanging out with your friends or anybody for that matter, and they are doing things, right, that seem fun or enjoyable, whatever the case may be, but you think about the life that you want to live, and it's like, well, hold up, right? Like that might seem good in the moment, but I can't do what they do because they don't have what I want, right? So often a measuring stick to determine like what your behavior and your activity should be like is like, especially if you're in a group of friends or you're connected with some people or whatever the case may be, do these people have the life that I want? But that's only half of it, right? Because if they have the life that you want and they're already kind of further along in their journey, they might be able to do some things that you can't do right now. So you will have to obviously, make a determination. But most importantly, if they don't have the life that you want, obviously you can't do what they do because they don't have what you want. And it's that simple. So it's not to down anybody else, but if you have very specific things that you're trying to achieve, right? You can't get caught up in what everybody else is doing. They might be able to have that drink. They might be able to chill on a Friday. They might be able to do things that seem enjoyable in the moment because that doesn't align with the lifestyle that you're trying to achieve. You can't do that. And that's okay. Whether that's friends, family, acquaintances, strangers, whoever, you got to make a decision that relative to the desired life that I'm trying to pursue, that it might mean that I can't do what other people are doing, right? So that's number one, is remembering that you can't do what they do because they don't have what you want, all right? Now, number two, Now, this one is really, really helpful because for me, it's about talking to myself and not listening to myself, right? And so let me run that back because I know I think about it all the time. So I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm saying. I have to talk to myself and not listen to myself. And what I mean by that is the human body is a self-preservation mechanism. And all we want to do is want to be comfortable. We want to avoid hard things just organically, right? And so naturally, if you're tired, the body's going to want to sleep in and relax, right? Naturally, if you had a long day at work, the body's going to want to kick your feet up on the couch and binge watch something on Netflix, right? But you have to tell yourself, no, we got goals to pursue. No different if you're in the gym, you're on that last set, your body's like, okay, you've done enough, but you know you got to push past that in order to get to a new level. And it's the same thing in your business, in your relationships, in your finances, any area that you're trying to be successful, you have to be able to talk to yourself and not listen to yourself. And the reason why I bring up that point, right, of talking to yourself and not listening to yourself is because at the end of the day, right, you are going to be on this earth anyway, right? We don't know how long we're going to be here, but you're going to be on this earth anyway. And so what I've realized is that the most frustrated person on the planet is the person who is lukewarm, right? You got to pick a side. Either you're going to go all in and you're going to have high expectations for yourself, or you're going to just decide that you're going to settle for whatever the life it is that you have, and you're not going to have any expectations. But the person who's the most frustrated is the person who eats right most of the time. The person who goes to the gym and does a pretty decent job most of the time, right? The person that, shows up for their business most of the time. Because what's going to happen is you're working, right? You're showing up consistently day after day, right? But maybe you take it easy on the weekends. Maybe you don't go as hard as you know you can. But then you're going to look at yourself in the proverbial mirror and be like, man, I have been showing up, but I still don't have what I want. And that is the most frustrated person on the planet. Here's why. If you don't do anything, then you don't expect anything. If you do, that's just sheer entitlement and delusion, right? And if you go all in and you truly put everything on the table, you might have a little bit of frustration, but if you know in your soul that you gave it everything, you're not gonna trip. But that person who's lukewarm, who thinks they're actually showing out when all they're really doing is just showing up and not going hard, they're gonna be so frustrated. It's like, man, I'm eating healthy 4.5, 5 days a week. I'm going to the gym 4.5, 5 days a week, whatever it is. Why don't I still feel comfortable in my own skin when it's the summertime hits, right? Why is it that I still don't have the body that I want, right? I'm showing up in my business every day, but I still haven't hit that 6-figure mark. I still haven't hit that 7-figure mark. That is the person that's gonna be extremely frustrated, right? So you gotta make a decision that if I'm gonna be here anyway, I might as well go all in. If you're at the gym, right, you're gonna be there for an hour and 15 minutes anyway. So why not push yourself as hard as you can go? Obviously you don't wanna injure yourself, but push yourself as hard as you can go because you're showing up the same amount of time. But ultimately, the person who's going all in versus the person who's just showing up, y'all not getting the same results, and that's going to be frustrating for you, right? So remind yourself, right? Rewire your mental framework that every time you're about to do something, if I'm gonna show up, I might as well give them all because I'm gonna be here anyway, and this time that I put in, if I don't get the desired result, that is going to piss me off. All right, this is another good one. You already know what your current life feels like. You don't know what it's like to feel the life of your dreams or to have the life of your dreams, right? So let's just go through a few examples. If there's some food that you really love, right? Pizza, at the end of the day, pizza is pizza. You've had really good pizza somewhere if you're a pizza person, and there's gonna be varying degrees of greatness wherever you go. But by and large, pizza is pizza. Wings are wings. Wine is wine. Liquor is liquor, right? The vices or the things that you enjoy that maybe aren't allowing you to get to that next level and unlock that next level, they are by and large the same. You already know what it tastes like. You already know what it feels like. You already know what it feels like to have the body you have. You already know what it feels like to have the amount of money you have in your current bank account. You already know what it feels like to have the level of business that you have right now. You don't know what it feels like to have the dream life at the highest level. So what I'm challenging you to do is, since you already know what that feels like, tastes like, whatever the case may be, is push that to the side for now. Because guess what? If you pursue your dream life and it's like, going that hard in the gym, I got the 6-pack, I'm not really pressed about it. Cool, you can go back, right? But if you never get there, you're always gonna be wondering in the back of your mind, like, man, what is it like to have that version of myself, right? I heard this quote one time and they said, I'm probably gonna butcher it a little bit, but they said, the true definition of hell is on your last day on earth, right? You meet the person that you could have or was supposed to become, right? I'm gonna say that one more time. The true definition of hell is your last day on earth, right? You meet the person that you were supposed to become, right? We all have a vision for our life. We all have a vision for ourselves, right? And God is planting these seeds inside of you, not to just mess with your head. It's because you possess the capabilities to create that, to bring that to life. And as I always like to say, your obedience is tied to someone else's destiny. The reason why I show up for these videos, even when I don't feel like it on a Friday night, is because even if it's one person that gets what they need from this, then I did my job. I'm not somewhere in the pulpit, but I know that I can still show up and do my work on this earth in the medium that I'm supposed to do it in, right? And so that's why I show up. My obedience is tied to somebody else's destiny. And so even if you don't feel like you have that level of calling on your life, which I believe that all of us have some level of calling on our life, right? You have an obligation and a duty to become the best version of yourself. You already know what it feels like to have everything you have right now. So why not be willing to let that go, even if temporarily, to pursue the dream life, right? In order to get the life that you want, you have to let go of the life that you have. Let me give you another analogy. Let's imagine that you're a ship, right? What keeps the ship in place? The anchor. The ship's main purpose is to set sail. So when the ship wants to set sail, what does it do? It has to pull the anchor up out of the water, right? So that it can go. It has to let go of the thing that's holding it back. So when you think about your life and you think about the things, the food that doesn't align with your nutrition plan, the lack of workouts or commitment, right? The binge watching of TV or scrolling on social media or whatever it is holding you back from achieving your dream life, right? Those are the things that you got to let go of. It's not a loss, it's a liberation. Because if it's allowing you to get to where you want to go, then you're being liberated from something. We have to change our relationship with sacrifice, right? Because oftentimes when we think about sacrifice, all we tend to think about is what we're giving up, right? Man, if I'm on a diet, right? Or I'm changing my lifestyle, I can't eat the cookies, I can't eat the ice cream, I can't drink the wine, I can't eat the carbs or the pizza, right? You gotta tweak that though. It's almost like you forget that you're getting something greater. Whenever you decide to commit to something, you've decided that you want something greater. The only time that's not true is if you don't know what you actually want and you're seeking something that you see somebody else or a societal norm and you haven't actually evaluated what you want yourself. But outside of that, if you really truly evaluated that this is what I want, then you have to also want the process. You also have to want the work. But what can help you navigate that is by not focusing on what you're giving up, but focus on what you're pursuing and what you're gaining. Right? Because that's the whole purpose of sacrifice. Why are we focusing on like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that? Man, I'm so excited that I'm not eating the foods that no longer align with the dream body that I'm building. I am so excited that I'm not wasting time on social media so I can have that time and space to build the business that can provide for my family, create the legacy, and give me the lifestyle that I know I deserve. Change your language and that will change everything. But you got to remember, like, focus on what you're gaining and not what you're giving up, because I think that's where people go wrong. Okay, I love this one. The price is the price, right? And we're gonna chew on this one for a little bit because this is one that I always use as an anchor for myself, right? So let's give you several examples so there's no ambiguity, no confusion about this, right? It costs what it costs. You wouldn't go to the Lamborghini dealership with a Honda budget. You know there ain't no haggling. You know there ain't no negotiation. Lamborghinis have set a standard, right, for quality, right? And there's a price associated with that, and you know that, right? So you wouldn't even show up to the lot if you didn't have the money to buy the Lamborghini. Let me give you another analogy. If you were making a cake, right? And the cake called for butter, it called for flour, it called for sugar, it called for sprinkles, it called for whatever it called for, right? You understand that those are the ingredients of the cake. You wouldn't be missing an ingredient and then be mad, knowing that it's part of the recipe, and then be mad that the cake won't rise or the cake doesn't taste how it's supposed to taste, because we can reasonably understand that the cake comes with a certain ingredient, right? If I don't have it, it's not gonna work. We can't be mad at the cake, right? You can't be say, oh man, the grocery store was closed, so I try to make the cake anyway and I'm mad that it doesn't taste good. That would sound crazy, right? Or man, the oven wasn't really heating up. Why doesn't the cake taste like it's supposed to taste? That's not the cake's fault. The cake has very specific instructions and ingredients, and you gotta follow it. That makes sense. You make the cake and it's supposed to come out how it's supposed to come out, right? But why is it that when it comes to our goals, right, we don't follow the same logic, right? We try to negotiate with ourselves. It's like, oh, well, this coach says I gotta follow this particular meal plan. I gotta do this many workouts, or I gotta read these books. But do I really gotta read all the pages? I can probably still get the same outcome if I read 7 of the pages instead of 10, or read half the book but don't finish the book, or do half the workout, or mostly eat what they say. Or you know what? There's other people that are getting really good shape and they say they're doing this. I'm gonna try that. Right? And then you wonder why you keep going in circles and you're not getting the results. Everybody has to commit and everybody has to submit. Everyone. You have to submit to the process. Now, the good thing is there's a variety of coaches, mentors out there. So find the one that you're willing to submit to, but you got to submit to it. Because here's the thing, people like course hop and mentor hop because they try something and along the way, there's something they got to do that's going to take them out of their comfort zone and they fall off. Well, maybe this coach going to do it. Because they said with macros, I can still eat what I want. And then you do that. Well, that didn't work. Well, let me try it this way. You gotta pick a side, you gotta commit, and you have to submit, right? You have to do it. There is no avoiding it. The price is the price, the cost is the cost. If you're unwilling to pay it, just say that, right? You can't say you want the 6-pack. You can't say you want the $1 million business. You can't say you want those things if you don't want the work that comes with it, right? I'm in the process of taking my health to the next level again. I'm in the process of building a $1 billion empire, and it's tough. Y'all know, I got robbed at gunpoint in Medellin, Colombia, right? A couple weeks ago. There isn't a reason or excuse to fall off the wagon, take a break, and I know that y'all would have given me grace, and I could have given myself grace to do it. But my goals, unfortunately, that's not how they work. And people don't want to tell you that, but that's the truth. That's not how it goes. How it goes is the ingredients. It's like this. It's like going back to the cake analogy. Just because you didn't have time to pick up the butter, just because you couldn't afford the flour, just because sob story, right? Justifiable story, but it's not going to change the fact that the cake ain't going to come out right, because it takes what it takes. It costs what it costs. The price is the price. And at some point, you have to just accept it for what it is and then make an honest decision and assessment with yourself. Like, am I willing to commit? If I'm not, it's okay. That might be a tough pill to swallow. I thought I wanted it. I wanted the outcome. I didn't want the process. But at some point, you have to make a decision, because what will happen is you'll keep failing. You'll keep missing the mark because you're convincing yourself that you want the outcome, but you don't want the work. And so there's this disconnect. And that's just gonna mess with you, right? Versus if you be honest with yourself, you know what? Like my guy David Shannon says, he doesn't want to be a billionaire. He knows himself. If he kept saying that, but then year after year after year, not getting any closer, right? At some point, you're gonna start to lower your expectations and feel discouraged and defeated. But maybe if you align yourself with what you are actually willing to commit to, or if you raise your standards, right, and finally do it, then you can be in a place where you can actually become the person that you want to become and become the best version of yourself. But you got to expect that the price is the price. right? And there's no negotiations on that, which leads me to my next point, right? No negotiations. Once you make the decision to do what needs to be done and become who you say you want to become, do not negotiate yourself out of your greatness, right? How many times have you been laying in the bed, alarm clock went off, you're like, well, I mean, I technically don't really gotta be up yet. Let me go ahead and snooze that thing. We've all done it. I can raise my hand, right? We've all done it, right? But the problem is when you set your alarm the night before, you set it for a time that you know will be the time you need to get up to do the things you need to do to have the day that you want to have. But somewhere along the lines, you start negotiating with yourself, right? Like, well, I don't really got to get up. But how crazy does that sound? Imagine, you on one side and another version of you, and you're basically like, there's two Georges on your shoulder. Like, you remember like the devil and the angel, and like you're negotiating with yourself. Like, no, you really don't got to do it, but yes, you kind of want. Like, that seems crazy, right? You got to make a decision that you want this. Matter of fact, one of my favorite quotes: your self-respect has to be greater than your feelings, right? Your self-respect. Like how disrespected would you feel if someone's like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be meeting with George at 6 o'clock, but it ain't that bad if I meet him at 6:30. You would find that disrespectful. But every day you negotiate yourself out of your great. I know I made a commitment to George myself, saying I was gonna wake up at 6, but it's cool. I can wake up at 6:30. I can wake up at 7. I can wake up at 7:30. I can push that workout to the evening, right? No self-respect. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the truth. And then we wonder why we may not be commanding the respect that we want from other people, because you treat people, you train people how to treat you, right? There's an energy, there's a frequency, right? We all got two types of friends. The one that we know is always going to be early and we got to be on time, and the one that shows up late. They have trained you how to treat them. What are your behaviors and your commitment to yourself saying about who you actually are? All right. For those of you who have significant others, and you maybe you feel like there's a lack of respect in certain areas and not taking you serious in certain areas, it's because you ain't taking you serious. Right? And that's a fact. So you got to stop negotiating with yourself. That is the key to unlocking the code of the millionaire mind. All right. And the last one for today is you have to become intolerant. Right? You have to become intolerant with your current circumstances and say no more, never again. Right? You ever walked in somebody's house and it was kind of a little funky, right? And then you were there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Eventually, your body adapted and you didn't really smell the funk anymore, right? Like you got used to it, right? They call it nose blind, I think is what they call it, right? Some of y'all have become what I like to call goals blind. You become so comfortable sitting in your current circumstances that you have normalized mediocrity. You normalized it. And you have now become tolerant to the version of yourself that you are right now, instead of pursuing the greatest and highest version of yourself that you know you deserve to become. You become goals blind, right? And in order for you to make a shift, you have to become intolerant, right? You got to make a decision right now that this is it. Matter of fact, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a folder on your phone, right? For my iPhone, I don't know how it works over there in Android land. I want you to create a folder on your phone, and I want you to title that folder, Never Again. And in that folder, I want you to, whatever your goals are, so let's go through a few of them. Let's say your goal is to get in better shape. Right now, you know you're not looking how you're supposed to look. Right? Go in the bathroom, go in the mirror, however you want to do it. No filter, no angles. Take a picture of yourself, right? Regular lighting. Add that to the Never Again folder. Right? Depending on how spicy you are, maybe you'll grab that gut a little bit. I'm just kidding. Let's say you log into your online banking or your investment account or lack thereof and screenshot that. If it don't look like how it's supposed to look. Never again, right? Or maybe you already have a screenshot reminding yourself, I can't believe I got back to this place. I told myself I would never get here again. Screenshot that joint. Add it to the Never Again folder, right? All those things that you know you deserve better And you gotta become intolerant to those things. Add those to the folder. Then I want you to create another folder, not right now. Not right now. And I want you to add all the things to your folder that when you get where you're supposed to go, you can enjoy that. But you know for a fact that if you try to finesse yourself into a lifestyle you haven't earned yet, all it's gonna do is slow you down, hold you back, and probably set you back, right? Not right now. So when you get those urges, like, not right now. Add whatever you need to add to the not right now folder. You can name it whatever you want to name it. More stories, create a system for yourself to remind yourself that, listen, I am not where I want to be. I know this is one of the more like realer, like straight to the point, like straight up episodes, but you have to remind yourself, I deserve better, and I gotta become intolerant. I can't get comfortable sitting in shit. Sorry, but I can't get comfortable, right? I gotta show up. I gotta remind myself who I'm supposed to be. Whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you got kids, whether you got mom you're trying to help, whether you got the world you're trying to impact, right? Who's relying upon you to become you, right? But if you don't become intolerant, you're never gonna become that person. And it ain't even the thing about jealousy or envy, but I know you see people, right? It's like, yo, I could do that, but you're not though. Even sometimes you probably even feel yourself, I could do that better, or they took my idea, but you ain't doing it though, right? You are just a vessel for God's greater good. Either you gonna do it or somebody else gonna do it. The choice is yours. And on that note, guys, that is today's episode of Financial Freedom Fastlane. I know I was coming at y'all hard, but I love y'all. This is tough love, right? I love y'all, right? Remember, the quicker you get to your dream life, the longer you get to live it, right? Then I got another quote. Oh yeah, freedom is for sale. Freedom is for sale if you're willing to pay the price. Peace.